Resource Preservation Advisory Board meeting on November 1st, 2023 at 11 a.m. Kindly silence your cell phones. Ms. DeHart, will you please call the roll?
Member Mattingman, Member Davison, Member Villegas, Vice Chairperson Nessel, Chairperson Stansfield.
Present.
Thank you.
Okay, can we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty, justice for all. Is there a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second.
I need to back up though and realize that Ms. Nessel, we wanted to add an item to the agenda, an update, item 9C. Is that correct?
Yes.
So I will back up my motion to approve the agenda with an addition of 9C for updates from committee members. So can I put that forward? Is there a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of item 9C, updates from individual committee members?
I make a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed, say no. And motion approved. Public comments are now open. Each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Are there any public comments?
I think we have Elaine from Pentas Towers as a public comment,
Yes.
with a wonderful update from her event.
As Mr. Bowen, you are officially on the agenda for presentation, so we'll give Elaine the microphone at this point. I'm sorry? You are actually an official item under presentation, so we're going to open the floor to public comments first, and Elaine would fall under that category. So if you'd like to give her the podium at this time so that she can have the floor, and then when we get to presentations, I will let you know and acknowledge that it's your time to be up there, but thank you. And can you, I'm just gonna back up again. We know you and I've been using your first name, but can you please state your name and address and affiliation for the record?
I'm Elaine Prentice, I'm the property manager at Pentas Towers, which is at 31017 Ocean Boulevard, Pilot Beach. Thank you for coming and supporting Honolulu community. It's amazing what you're doing. One of the things that I hope that we got from people is it's not that complicated. I'm listening to take out first step and out the development, and it's not that expensive. You know, we did use the trailer. I'm sure there's others that can do it. I hope that you were able to show that it's not that difficult to do, and that Mother Nature does come back. I think that we just started with seals, with not any of the other plants, it would have done it on its own. Like, I don't think we need to do like, I mean, day seers are great, but I don't know if you need to look the other little things that live there. I have a section that's 8 foot by 3 feet, which from the north end of the unit, and it's planted in there that does not belong. So when we're going to remove it, trying to put seaweed, put it there, and that's the experiment. I want to see what it's going to do, because I believe it's going to come back. If you see all the bitter panic grass that came in, my little peach peanut thing that took off, I mean, I didn't know this. They were there. You just couldn't see it because everything else was overtaken. The other thing that I just have a question. You know, back in the 70s, the state of Florida, they took out Australian pine. There's a reason for it. It's really, really bad to have out there. Why, as a town, can we not put some sort of an ordinance in place that can't have these arts, in particular in snowmobile? Can it, I don't know politics, I don't know if that's something that we could look at. The other thing that I found when I went online, Broward County, they're offering to help people, buildings and private owners, a certain amount of money and you match it to remove those exotics. That's something that I don't know how you would even go about that. They call it a cost share basis. And we don't have that much, we have like less than 3 miles of beach front. And the other thing I found was City of Cocoa Beach, they put in a dune management plan. And I actually have their website address, which is interesting. You need to control it because if something happens, it is your first line of defense. And letting it go whatever way it's going right now, you're not helping yourself. You're really not. You want to get that thing working and it will work. And I think we're a great example. I think we've gained at least this much in height and I'm not even 9 months in. So that's sort of where, I have questions. I don't know how it could be done, but I think people, if they really understood how important it was, they want it to work. That's it.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
How much did it cost?
Well, I had a mess up there. I'd done it 11 years ago and, findings were bad, the scargol, I had scargol all over the place with my neighbor, he's in love with it. But we spent with Beach Raker $8,500 and they were there for 5 days. And they also trimmed my sea grapes down. So that's what it cost. Now, knowing what I know, I might attack, it will never happen again. I'll tackle it with the landscaper because I know what I'm doing. So I think educating, some of this could be done with your own landscapers. I don't think you need to hire, you'd have to look at each individual beachfront and make that determination, but I certainly know it does not belong. So it wasn't a lot of money, and then putting the plants back, I did a lot of fancy stuff because that's me, I'm a little uppity, but I know I am, you ask anybody, that's my thing. I think we spent about 5,000. But we did the labor putting it in. I don't think you need to spend that kind of money. I don't.
You didn't need to add any sand to your dune? Your dune
No,
was good.
no, and it's catching now. It's starting to catch that sand and it's up. So I think that you don't need to spend that kind of money. We did, but how many buildings have a beachfront that's 400 linear feet? Like, I don't know. You're doing your study, right? Is there a lot of buildings that have that much of a swath on the beach? Barb, how big is yours? In front of your building?
Almost 400, yeah.
So you're almost
Yes.
400.
And our scabola is growing crazy.
I know.
Had we done it 3 months ago, it would have been much cheaper. Time is running out. It's growing like crazy.
You gotta get down there, you
Yeah,
gotta, they'll
yeah.
keep popping too. It takes a little bit of time. You'll see them come up and you just take it off. So I think just education, a lot of this can be handled in-house. I love Lee Gottlieb. He certainly gave me a better education than anyone else ever did. But now that we know, I kind of put that cheat sheet together. It's not that hard. And that's it. I would love to see something done though, where you have to do it. You have to clean it up. Because it's not helping anyone.
I agree with you. I think it should be mandatory. It needs
So-
to get done.
And I don't know laws, but when I get into the researching, can you not do an ordinance with Highland Village?
I know what.
Sure,
Mrs.
I can
Allen is
answer
going to
that.
say.
We actually have landscape regulations in our code. It's in chapter 28. And as you were talking, I was looking at the purpose.
Right?
And one of those, letter G, is removal of nuisance species. Eradicate or control certain exotic plant species which have been nuisances because of their tendency to damage public and private works, to have a negative effect upon public health, or to disrupt or destroy native ecosystems. I think this topic was brought up at the last meeting in August, and I think one of the board members brought up a very good point, and you brought it up too. I think the best way to do it is to educate people, because I'm just going to be realistic. We have one code enforcement officer. Unlike larger municipalities, and I've worked at larger municipalities that are along the beach, they have environmental officers that are out there specifically for this type of issue. We have one code enforcement officer for the whole town, so it's not really feasible, to start prancing on people's property to see, okay, is this exotic? I don't know that our code enforcement officer has a background in horticulture. I don't believe he's an arborist. It doesn't mean he can't be trained on some of these more prolific exotic species that are out there. But maybe it is more about educating people. Everyone is responsible for their own dunes. It's within their property line. So I know the board has talked about doing, dune outreach. This was part of the initiative given to you by the commission. You have carte blanche to educate people. You don't have to go back to the commission. I know you were all talking about cheat sheets. And so I think that might be a more effective way, right? Educate people and not like come down on them like, hey, you have it. And, maybe that would be a good first step approach. And then if it doesn't work, then we could talk about maybe reinforcing the ordinance, but
The other thing that I found was there is, an organization, it's the Florida Beach and Shore Preservation Act. Maybe we need to contact them. Maybe I have to. There is stuff that, this is actually, it's an act that they have in the state of Florida, to preserve and protect your beach and dunes. Maybe there could be some action there. And it says the act provides 3 interrelated programs to the Department of Environmental Protection: coastal construction control, beach management, funding assistance. There may be some money there. I don't know. I'm not the most up on, the city stuff. I just don't know. But this Scarbola stuff is really bad. It's taken out. If you look at our dune now, since we got the Scarbola out, these things came back. I did not put them in there. I have bitter panic grass growing like crazy. They actually want you to plant it. Ours came back. I did not put that in. And you saw my dune, it's coming and it's spreading. So I'd like to see something done with that. And then also I noticed City of Boca Raton actually has a program trying to put the native plants back on the beach. Like maybe we get them, we offer some help. Is there money available to help some of these owners? Like, I don't know.
I'm not aware of any money. Again, you have to keep in mind, cities like Boca Raton have public beaches. So it's a whole different scenario, especially when it comes to grants, right, for public beaches. Very difficult for private beaches to get, grant type of opportunities. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering, maybe Highland Beach should hire a code enforcement officer on a temporary basis just for the beach. Just till we get everything up and running the way that it's supposed to be, because there is an ordinance. These homeowners who live on the beach are responsible for their dunes, not only for maintaining them, but for keeping them clean. And it's not enforced because there's nobody there to tell them. And a lot of these homeowners don't even know that their dunes are collapsing and in disrepair.
At this time, I want to pull our attention back because all the ideas and thoughts you're pushing our way, we do have an item under number 9, new business under the general category of future dune restoration management related events. So I think all these topics, that's like a good place to discuss it since we do have other presentations and individuals waiting. I don't know if there are any other comments, but yeah, Elaine brings to us such a wealth of knowledge from hands-on practical application. And that has been our mission since the beginning of education, awareness, so that we can come together because of the limitations of being a private beach. All of this, it was always the push of education to the general public because we know that people care, but how can we get together and form a collaborative group? But I would just, is that okay if we hold some of those thoughts or jot them down to capture them so you don't lose them? And Christine, I know you were wanting to put something out, but is it appropriate to hold that until we get to that item where we can get a little bit deeper and do some more digging and work around that? Is that good? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for everything. We really appreciate it. Any other public comments?
I think that
Right, again, can you please state your name, address, affiliation for the record?
Ron Santangelo in Boca Highlands. I just want to make a couple comments. I lived in New Jersey. I went through Sandy. It was horrific. Luckily, our town put the dunes in, properly maintained. Yes, our homes had 5 feet of water on the outside, on the beach. 2 towns down, 200 yards in, no homes. Obliterated. Dunes are important, and I know no one thinks about it until after the fact. We really need to think about it now. So don't kick me out of town, but then I want the Naples. First I got hit with Irma, then got hit with Dana. And there was a group of us on the beach, and there was 10 homes in a row that made sure we put the dunes in, well-maintained, the homes on either side. It'll probably be another year before they can move in. It's important. We have to have our dunes. One way or the other, we got to force the issue. Everybody poo-poos it. You can't. This is critical. And I just don't want to see anything happen to this wonderful town. Thank you.
Greg Bowen, 1101 Russell Drive, Highland Beach. I just had a follow-up comment. The Florida Wildlife Conservation Commission has volunteer force. And you might want to check into, just Google FWCC Volunteer Corps. And we have, actually, I'm a volunteer for FWCC, but they have huge projects, community projects where they've got kids from school, they've got older people like me that are volunteers. And as far as beach restoration, perhaps a project planting sea oats on the beach to prevent erosion, you might want to look into that. And it's free.
Any additional public comments? Otherwise, we'll move on to item number 6, presentations.
We have the turtle team here. I don't know if that's a public comment or where we should schedule turtle.
It's not on the agenda.
But there's
So
gonna
if
be a
you'd like to
public-
speak as public comment, you're free to do so. We don't have that item on the agenda. It's,
So I'm Joanne Ryan. I'm the permit holder for the Town of Highland Beach Sea Turtle Program. And I thought we were going to talk about Milani Park, so I did bring some statistics for that area on the beach. But since we're not, I want to share with you guys what a great season we had this year in Highland Beach. We had a total nest count of 1,548 nests in 2.8 miles of Highland Beach. We had 1,672 false crawls, so we had total crawls of 3,220. Of that, our loggerhead nest count was 990 and green turtles were 551. And yesterday was the official close of turtle season for this year. However, we still have 3 nests that we're monitoring. We had 1 very late nester, so we'll be coming out checking it until mid-November. So we had a great season, record-breaking turtles, record-breaking heat, and our team of 20 did a fabulous job out there. And to talk about the dune system, because I am a Florida master naturalist, when I take people out on turtle walks with me, I do talk about the native plants, and I tell them, you know, what is coming back. And we have a lot of the burrowing 4 o'clock crawling across the beach right now. It's a beautiful plant, sustainable dune plant. The roller vine are going crazy this time of year. It's so pretty to see the beach with those purple flowers going across there. And that's it.
Well, I think you mentioned Milani Park, and I think that's a concern for the turtle team. So maybe that's something you could mention as a public
Okay.
note.
So Milani Park, I'm not real familiar with what's gonna happen there, but I did go over the reporting for that zone 1. Zone 1 is starts at Boca Highlands Beach Club and goes up to the Bel Lido access area. In that area this year, we had 648 crawls. That's how many turtles came out of the water to either nest or not. In we call it the Palm Beach growth area, we had 47 nests in that condensed little tiny area. It's very dark. There's a nice little stretch of just green space there that, you know, and turtles dig dark, so, you know, we hope that it won't get too built up.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so with that, are we concluding public comments? And I would like to move on then to presentations. I just want to thank again all our residents who are so dedicated to this and acknowledge once again the wealth of knowledge that we have in this town. Small, mighty town with a large wealth of knowledge and passionate individuals. So there's nothing that we can't do, I believe, when we come together. What is the Rachel Carson quote? Don't never I won't do it exactly, but the whole idea of never underestimate the power of a small group of individuals. You know, anything can be done. It just always floors me and makes me so proud of the wealth of knowledge and dedication we have in this town. With that, I'll roll over to Mr. Greg Bowen again, who has a presentation for us. And he is from the USCG Auxiliary Marine Safety and Environmental Protection Agency. Mr. Bowen, please.
Actually, I have a handout. Actually, the handout was second. Firstly, I'd like to thank the board for your community service. What you're doing here is very important to the environment and to the town. Am I all right?
Are we catching?
Okay.
Audio? Okay.
Okay, so I don't have a lot of slides here, it's just illustrated, basically. My agenda today is to talk about marine plastic pollution. Primarily on our beach and in the intercoastal waterway and the canals, and especially the mangroves, which are nurseries for small fish and crustaceans. And there's a lot of trash out there, especially on the beach. We have some board members here that are out on the beach collecting trash almost daily. And it makes a difference. So just going to illustrate here, how long does it take for trash to decompose in the ocean? And by the way, all this trash. We have a beach cleaner, which I think I've made this comment to Barbara at some point. It's kind of an oxymoron. They just bury the trash. They plow it under. When the tide comes in and we get a storm, all that garbage goes back out to sea. There are other municipalities that actually collect trash off the beach. They actually are beach cleaners. So something, I know it's a matter of dollars to whomever is paying the condominiums or the town. I'm not sure who's paying what. But I think that's something to look into. Beach cleaners that actually clean the beach, take the garbage away. Cigarette butts. Now I've read this as the most common item found on beaches, but not here. Our most common item, believe it or not, is plastic bags and bottle caps. Thousands and thousands of bottle caps. 10 years for a cigarette to decompose. And plastic bags, this is a huge problem. Plastic bags are a turtle killer. The turtles ingest the plastic bags thinking that they're jellyfish. And they've done necropsies on turtles and all. We do some statistics in a minute. And they find that they basically clog up their intestines and the turtles die. Or if they're lucky, they end up gumbo limbo. I just gave you some handouts. There's some different estimates of how long these items last, but for the purposes of this conversation with the PowerPoint, 20 years for plastic bags. Styrofoam cups, 50 years. What I see is a lot of styrofoam takeout food containers, lots of them, and pieces of them every day. And it blows them, by the way, the wind blows them up into the sea dunes. And they pollute, and basically you've got all these beautiful homes and condos in Highland Beach. And you've got all this garbage that's blown up into the landscaping. Aluminum cans, 200 years. Go back to this one. Not the diapers. This is a turtle killer. The turtles get entangled in these things around their necks. They think it's food because it's plastic, it's floating, looks like a jellyfish. That's a turtle killer. 400 years. Disposable diapers, I've seen a few. Not too many. 450 years. Plastic bottles. We see a lot of plastic bottles, especially the bottle caps. For some reason, the polymers and the bottle caps are different than the actual bottles. And the caps, I find caps that have been out there for years. They've got barnacles all over them. And they just don't decompose. 450 years, we're not going to be around to see it, but that's a long time. Fishing line is a big problem, especially with all the seaweed that we've had in the past since 2006. The fishermen's fishing lines get caught up in the seaweed and the line breaks, it washes ashore. But before it gets ashore, it sinks to the bottom with the seaweed. Again, the turtles have to come to the surface to breathe. And if they get entangled in this on a reef, they can't come up. I was diving one time and there was probably a 300 or 400 pound turtle in a cave with his back flippers facing outside. And they will sleep, they can stay down a long time, but they can sleep for long, extended periods of times. So I just pulled him by the foot a little bit and he backed out. He only had one flipper in the front. So if they get entangled with fishing line or with leader wire, there's a lot of it on the reefs. There's a lot of it in the seaweed. They drown basically because they're not mammals, but they breathe air. They're reptiles. They have to come to the surface to breathe. 450 years. So that's very short. But I'd like to read something to you, and I'm sorry I don't have enough copies for everybody. So as I mentioned, my agenda is marine plastics pollution, and I've illustrated here some of the issues with that. They adversely affect the planet's oceans, the inland waters, the aquatic plants, seabirds, virtually all marine life, and consequently human beings. Ironically, humankind is exclusively the root of this problem. In June of 2023, United Nations interview conducted by television's Inside Edition magazine program. The UN reported that human beings produce about 430 metric tons of plastic waste each year, and about 8 million tons of that ends up in the world's oceans. An astounding 90% of the trash in all oceans is plastic. And it's estimated that if nothing's done to remediate this problem, by 2050, there'll be more plastic in the ocean than fish. Plastic's composed of polymers. In nature, polymers exist everywhere, in the walls of cells, hair, silk, DNA, etc. But it's also possible to create synthetic polymers by breaking down crude oil into its components and rearranging them. This synthetic polymer is an extraordinary material. It's light and weight, durable, cheap to produce, can be molded into any shape. It's truly a revolutionary byproduct of crude oil. But the dark side of polymers is that synthetic polymers, plastic, the material that we see on the beach. Since its invention in 1907, we produced 8.3 billion metric tons of plastic. Where is it all? Contemplate this. Every piece of plastic ever produced from crude oil still exists today. Diverse types will decompose and at different rates, but the words biodegradable and decompose are not synonymous with disappear. So here's another estimate of how long these materials last. Cigarette butts, 15 years. Plastic bags, 25 years. Plastic cups, 70 years. Water bottles and caps, 100 years. Disposable diapers, 250 years. Nylon string, 400 years. Polystyrene, and that's the styrofoam that you see wash ashore from the lobster traps and the stone crab traps. You see them all the time. 10,000 years, if ever. They may never decompose. Decompose and degrade in this context means eventual decomposition to a molecular level, but still in existence. The molecules reside in the water column, aquatic plants, coral, the ocean floor, the waterways, even in the air we breathe. Because these synthetic polymer molecules are petroleum byproduct, they're classified as carcinogens and extremely harmful to animals and humans. They enter the food chain when absorbed in the body tissue or ingested by marine creatures, seabirds, or leached into aquatic plants. Human beings are at the top of that food chain. We're actually eating plastic, and it's contaminating the ocean's creatures. The PBS NewsHour documentary found that 100,000 marine mammals are killed by ocean plastic every year. While sea turtles are reptiles, not mammals, they need to come to the surface to breathe. Herein lies the exposure to plastic trash. United Nations Sea Turtle Mortality Study revealed that the cause of death of over 50% of the animals that they necropsied were due to either impalement and entanglement or ingestion of plastic. So there's hope on the horizon. The United Nations has set a goal to reduce plastic pollution by 80% by 2040. I don't think so. That's not a long period of time from today. It's a lofty goal considering that 9% of plastic, only 9% of plastics recycled today. So 193 countries have met in France with the intent to negotiate a plastic treaty that applies to the world, basically. The methods of reducing plastics to a one-time use, switching to paper packaging for a wide range of products instead of plastic, and to use plant-based plastic bags. There is such a product, and it's completely biodegradable, and it goes away. And it's from plants, so it's not harmful. Okay, so but I have a proposal for the board. So some of the board members walk the beach every day. I walk weather permitting. I walk the beach 2 or 3 times a week, picking up plastic and trash and so forth. This is what I find, and it's right in the seaweed line. And I find some objects that are truly astounding that they got to the beach, like a brick. How does a brick that weighs a pound or so end up in the seaweed up on the beach? Well, the seaweed can tumble on the bottom of the ocean, and it picks up everything. It picks up broken glass. It picks up, well, there's floating boards with nails and screws protruding from them. I found fish hooks, leader wire, hypodermic needles. This is all in Highland Beach, by the way. This is not in some foreign country. Shards of fiberglass from boats, polystyrene rope, but that's material that lasts forever. From the lobster buoys and stone crabs and other sharp items, wood, metal, particle encrusted materials, all very sharp and very hazardous, and it's right at our tide line, basically. So what I'd like to propose is a program to remove the plastics primarily from our beach environment here. The benefit of that is it's going to protect humans, marine creatures, including sea turtles, manatees, seabirds from harmful plastic pollution and other. And eventually, if we put some of these programs in place, it's going to limit the production of new plastics and limit whatever goes to the landfill. Now, I find it kind of strange that we have multiple trash cans on the beach at different stations. I don't know how many there are, maybe 5, 6, nothing in the pinchers. But our employees, the town employees, utilities folks, that pick that up. They pick it up and they take it to the trash can, and it's full of plastic, and it goes to the landfill. So I thought the whole purpose of recycling was so these materials don't end up at the landfill. So I'd like to propose that a beta program, a trial program, whereby we could put a recycling bin, a small yellow one, by each trash can, and do a tryout of this program through the season. And when they come to pick up the trash, the folks that are picking up the plastics will use the recycling bin by the trash can, throw the other stuff away. When they pick up the trash, bring it back here and have waste management pick it up. And so that's basically my agenda. That's what I'd like the committee to propose to the town, utilities department, city planner, etc. And see if we can start recycling this plastic instead of putting it back into the environment. Any questions?
I think it's a great idea. It's definitely, yeah, a wonderful thought. Gulfstream and other Ocean Ridge, they're actually doing it. They have a recycling bin, and I'm also picking up trash there almost daily because my daughter goes to school there. And I can report that the recycling is full of like plastic bags and non-plastic, and it's a mess. So residents really need to be educated on the recycling laws, which the town does an amazing job sending these rules. But I see at the beach where they have these recycling containers, the people who are picking up the trash who are really willing to help are not separating the trash correctly, which then causes problems on the recycling end in the recycling plants, where they manually have to remove the trash. So that's just my 2 cents for that, but it's definitely a great idea.
I also think it'd be beneficial if this program is approved, it'd be beneficial to advertise it basically in the town letter, the Highland Beach letter that goes out, and see if we can get more volunteers involved on the north end of the beach. we pretty much have the south end of the beach covered. Almost all Ocean Place estates south to the Boca line. But we could get some more folks involved from there all the way to Del Rey. And include that in the program, I think would be beneficial.
So I'm gonna add my 2 cents. I think it is a great idea. My only concern is I'm at the beach almost daily picking up, and I get a lot of buckets of trash, which is why we need more garbage cans. When I have a bucket of trash, there's no way that I'm gonna be able to sort out my 100 bottle caps from my shoes and my hypodermic, it makes it a little bit more difficult. Maybe for the big pieces of plastic, it would work. But I know I dumped that thing in and it would be hard to separate out,
I thought about that myself.
Uh, do you? Oh. Oh.
It's not necessarily gonna be easy.
Yeah.
John Kennedy said, we're going to the moon not because it's hard, not because it's easy, we're going to the moon because it's hard. So anything worthwhile takes maybe a little extra effort. I know that the gentlemen that pick up the trash will probably grumble, like, now we have extra work. The gentlemen pick it up on the beach. Now I have extra work with this recycling bin. But I think it's worth a try. We try it out and see what happens. But it makes a lot more sense than sending this to the trash mount down there in Pompano or over here in Del Rey.
I too think it's a great idea to do a pilot on this. We have buckets, tree buckets people are using for trash right now. So this would be like a partial education program that maybe they would separate it as they're picking it up, because they know when they're picking up bottle caps, they know plastic versus trash usually. But maybe there's an opportunity to pick a site that has the trees and put a recycling bin there. I don't know how receptive that will be, but Chairman, as I look at what we're talking about here in terms of the plastic, I absolutely think we have a tremendous opportunity, just like we do with hurricanes, to put together a couple of things that have to do with the plants, not planting scarbola, eliminating scarbola, with plastic, picking up the plastic and separating it into the recycling. We have an opportunity, like we do a hurricane booklet for citizens in the event of a hurricane. Why not have something that's tailored, that we work with our town planner and our manager to suggest to the commission that this is part of a multifaceted program. Maybe it has 3 facets to it. One is plants, and then we can develop a couple of sheets that tell people, if people see these numbers on plastic and how they're helping by putting it in, getting it to these bins. If that were a handout at the Holiday Inn or a handout at every condo building that people could give to new residents, that might be a very helpful thing. It talks about the plants, it talks about the plastic and the turtles. There's a way to do this. I'm not a marketing person, but there's a way to do this if you think about it in terms of the things personally people have to do for a hurricane. And then there are things that they're doing that are good for preparation of their building, so stuff doesn't hurt other residents. It's the same thing, but this is dealing with plants and plastic. So I think, first of all, we have an opportunity to put something like that together that's multifaceted, that could address a couple of the things here. And also we have money. The commission has expressed several times that they are interested, for example, with the plants, of maybe trying to help get a vendor in and lower the cost of the plant so people could buy three COs at one time, to plant in a hole. So I think that they would be receptive to this concept of this recycling, a little added cost to the person who picks up the other trash receptacles on the beach, to do, pick up the recycling as well. So I don't know, I'm throwing that out there. I think, handouts, not only in the planner's office, but also at the condos, that address multiple things that are talking about our beach health might be a real thing we could do, as the Natural Resources Board, and work with the planning department and get something published, and it would be on the website, and it would be something that we could have handouts that we could give to condos to put out for new residents.
Again, our platform, well, since I joined the board, has always been about education, and I know, and I look at all my board members, and we all have agreed that that is the best approach, is education and bringing people on board through that venue. When it comes to handouts, I have sometimes an issue of like printing more paper and resources, but we do have a website that continues to grow and become more and more easy to navigate. I was just on again, I'm like, oh, I even see new updates where it's really easy to find our board now.
Right.
Utilizing that, and whether it's using technology in, like Delray Sounds, like click here on a QR code to go directly to a website. Like, I hear what you're saying, and but I think we can utilize technology, utilize all the resources. It's not just up to us. As I said earlier, we have so many highly educated, dedicated people. We have a new presentation and report that can immediately go on the website, but it's again, the awareness of how to make individuals aware, whether it's in the manager's monthly and have a QR code scan in there or something. But Ingrid is always in support of us in taking this back into how can we continue to grow the information and everything that we do, how do we work to ensure that we are visible. Whether last year, that undertaking we did with the letter, that was huge. That was a huge undertaking to send out all the letters. So we acknowledge and know, and we agree with you. So we all are in agreement
absolutely
about
agree.
this, without it being overwhelming of how many different mini projects are going on. But how do you look at the macro and drill down to the micro to see that these are all interrelated, but not everyone sees it. And we don't want to inundate individuals with what's the pet project of the month. But when you do it carefully with thought of why each of these is interrelated and why picking up this piece of plastic impacts the turtle nesting pieces, which in effect can help the dunes if we put, when we see how overall each small little action
It's part of.
is part of the larger piece. So again, as we look at, and it's new business, future dune restoration management related events. I think we have a platform, and I'll just put it out there. I don't like going off on tangents on certain items, but when we talk about even calendar dates for the future, I was hoping to propose other possible special events that we can get down and do this work and talk about topics such as this.
Chair, if I can ask,
Of
Mr.
course.
Bowen, when you mentioned to have a recycle bin on the beach, you're talking about your traditional blue and yellow bins, or are you talking about, pardon?
Just the blue or the yellow.
Oh, okay.
And put it, under the stairs, most of the, locations of the, bucket trees and, the walkers with the stairs and gaps and stuff.
I know that sometimes you have critters out there that can knock things down. I mean, I think we have to be mindful of that.
That's true.
I've seen some very interesting recycle for plastics. I think it was in Key, maybe in one of the keys I went this summer. It's like a contraption. You have to actually, it's something you would put into the beach, which we have a provision. You can't insert any type of stake or pole in our beaches, but there's ways around that. And it was actually a structure. I think it was a whale, and people would throw their bottles, their plastic bottles in it. Yeah, isn't it in the Keys somewhere?
I don't know where. it's at.
Yeah.
I just see that it's all filled with.
Or maybe it was in the coast of Georgia. I went to two places and I have a picture of it, but so that, I mean, again, this is private beach. So then obviously the property owners would have to be on board. We have these restrictions about poles and stakes. So I just wanted to clarify that you're talking about the square bin. Again, I'm just, like I said, there's raccoons out there, and we have to think of these things.
I also think it's a little bit of an eyesore. Like I
Yeah.
think the homeowners that, some of the condos that have let us put trash cans out there, they're not gonna want that yellow can sitting out there. I mean, it's a great idea, but maybe if we had something that was more pleasing to the eye.
And something that may be a bit more sturdy. I mean, I
Yes.
know
We have a lot of
obviously
boxes.
we have our winter season coming. It's not the rainy season, but sometimes you get a storm and that
Yes,
thing's gonna
it would
flip
blow
over and you're gonna have plastics. So we have to think of the, those details,
Yes.
not to be Debbie Downer, but I think we have to be realistic. You just have an open air bin that we all typically use in our homes may not be something that would work on the beach with wind and storms and waves, and I don't.
So,
I thought about what Diane said. We don't want, that could be considered obtrusive, ugly. Sitting on the beach. I actually went online yesterday. There's a lot of different solutions, a lot of different types of things. I guess it's just a matter of cost. They're anywhere from, for a good one, for probably $250 up to $1,500, depending upon if you want them, something like you have in an airport or something like that. But if it looks nice and it's simple and it's not a huge cost burden, that's probably the way to go.
Maybe
And
the,
tie it off.
yeah, I was gonna say, maybe we could do a small pilot program, maybe with 1 or 2 condos, and maybe have them put a bin on their property. Once you come up the stairs, and then maybe the bin's there. That may be one way to try, because on the sands, at least if it's up on the condo deck right before you come down the stairs, right, you could tie it to the fence. And I mean, that may be a suggestion just to see how that
It
works.
would be a trial program
Okay,
and maybe trial and error.
Okay.
And we'll learn from it and find better solutions. But it's a
again, that
start.
could be part of the educational outreach, you know, you could reach out just to the condos and say, hey, would you be interested in possibly considering a recycled bin at the entrance of your beach access? I mean, it'd be up to the board, but yeah.
It's a good idea. If you'd like.
Yeah, just a quick note here is education is certainly key and we can talk about it. So we can keep the meeting rolling, but plastic bags can't be recycled in waste management. So
Plastic bags unfortunately have to be thrown away.
So I think
reach-
that's just a huge issue when it comes to a lot of people that are going to the beach for a day, you know, and then put all their recycling inside of a plastic bag and then put it into a recycling bin at the beach.
We can put a decal on there that says no plastic bags. Actually, waste management, I used to be in the solar business and I'd go to these green conventions, seminars. And waste management would be there. They'd say, no, we don't want plastic bags because it gums up their machinery. So that's just, unfortunately, that's trash that will have to go to the landfill. But all the hard plastic items, yes, can be recycled.
Yeah, I definitely think that these numbers here on this list of how long it takes for stuff to decompose should definitely go in the manager's minutes. Maybe with a little snippet from the Natural Resources Committee, because I think if people saw this, it
It's
it
eye-opening.
should make a difference. Yes, it's
very
eye-opening.
Do you have this electronically that it could be
I'll
sent?
send it to Ingrid.
Because then it
Sure.
would, again, it's something, as we mentioned, could be
Absolutely.
posted on the website as you presented.
Okay. Well, thank you for your time today.
Could
I hope
become
it was
part of
Thank
our
you.
booklet, if we're
Thank
gonna
you so much.
create a booklet. It might be
Okay.
part of a booklet that we would produce.
I'm going to move over then and continuing under number 6, presentations, town planner updates, and I refer this item to town planner Allen.
Okay, hello again. So there were a few items from your last meeting that you all discussed or brought up. That was at your August 30th meeting that I wanted to update the board on. There was a discussion about having a vendors event at Highland Beach, possibly having the beach rakers, some dune landscapers. I had emailed all of you on September 7th for those who, you know, may be listening and obviously you're not on the board, didn't get the email. I did discuss it with the town manager and as I had mentioned to you all in August, because of the fire station construction, we're not doing any food truck events here. But I think what I had suggested was, and it's on the agenda as an item today, that you all can discuss and, you know, come up with some proposed lists of, how you want to move forward in terms of events, right? Talking about topics, speakers that you may want to have in the future, education materials. Now, what I found out this past Monday, is the town did send an email blast about this Mingle and Jingle food event. It's going to be a food truck event that's going to be held at St. Lucie Catholic Church on December 7th. Right when I saw that email blast, I reached out to the town manager's office to see if maybe we can coordinate this vendors event. And I was advised by the town manager's office, because there's maybe some logistics issues. This is the first time we're doing it at St. Lucie. There may not be space to accommodate vendors. I had mentioned to them that at minimum, if possibly, you all can get your table, which you've done at other food truck events. And so the manager's office will get back to me. This was all happening very quick. So I didn't have an update for today. I didn't get a response back. And as I said, they are working on it. So I will email the board. I don't know if maybe
What
the
was the date
chair,
again,
it's
Ingrid?
December 7th. They didn't put the time, but usually those are in the evening. There'll be more information on the town's website in the next few weeks. So maybe the chair, after I finish my update, if you maybe want to ask for any volunteers that could possibly man the table. I know that you brought these brochures on guidelines for beach and dune management. You guys done some amazing tables and nice aesthetics on the table. So I just wanted to update you on that. Let's see. There was a question about the beach bucketry at Delray Sands. I had mentioned to the board that I had previously reached out to them. Actually, I reached out to them on August 16th to the general manager there. I sent him a picture of the bucketry, the bucket with the decals. I was able to get an email back from him, Derek Clark, he's a general manager, and he told me that they are going to hold off on the bucketry at this moment. So we tried. Things could change. I believe that's all that I had to update the board on. I did want to mention, Mr. Hart just mentioned to me earlier that there's going to be on the November 11th Town Commission agenda, a discussion on Milani Park. So, pardon? November 7th, sorry. And, the commission hasn't given the board any direction to discuss about, anything going on in Milani Park. So if you all are interested as board members, as citizens of the residents of the town, you might want to tune into that particular meeting.
Is it 1:30?
Yeah, 1:30 is the meeting. Oh, and I'm sorry, one more thing. That presentation that Ms. Prentice made at your last meeting has been uploaded. That was another request from the board to upload it on your webpage. It's on the page. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
If you have any questions, I'm happy to.
This is
address.
Elaine's presentation.
Yeah, that she did in August. It's on your Natural Resources Board
Yeah,
webpage.
if we could get these plastic items up there as well.
Yeah, we
I
could
think
put this
that
on
would
there.
be-
That shouldn't be a problem.
That's why I asked for it in electric
Yeah.
format from Mr. Bowen, and he was gonna send that our way, so it gets easy to get that up there.
I had a question on my understanding from just chatting with different people, the December 7th tree lighting is going to be outside at St. Lucie's.
Yeah,
And so there is ample space in the parking lot area for us to have a table. So I think we ought to have a table, plan on having a table if the board thinks that's a great idea. And yeah, I
I just have to talk to the town manager about it.
yeah.
That's all.
just
Again,
know
I
there's
have the
space.
email. Yeah,
I'm
Yeah.
sure we'll have- but there's a process.
I'm sure there wouldn't be a problem with just the table. Again, as far as vendors, that's where I have the email here. It may be difficult from a logistics. It's what they put.
I don't think
yeah.
we have enough time as
Yeah.
a board to even organize vendors
Yeah.
outside of our table anyways, so.
So
No,
I'll
but
advise
but
the
if
board
we
once
could
I.
come and have have some handouts and have
Right,
some of the
that's
stuff.
what
We've
she's
done
saying.
it just
Yeah,
us. So
I
we've,
think that
we've
would be
done that in the
helpful.
past and through the communication, through Ingrid, I'm sure she'll keep us abreast of that. And
Yeah.
I think did we do two, maybe even three? We did a minimum of
Yeah,
two
you did a
last year.
few. Yeah, you did the one during the
Possibly.
holiday season. I think there was
So-
another one you did. Yeah. there
No,
was
it
a few.
was very, very
Yeah.
successful. It was a great presence with everybody. So
I would like to make a motion that not only does this go up on our site, but it goes out in the manager's minute, because not everybody goes to our website, unfortunately, but I think this
Okay.
is eye-opening.
You want the
Yeah.
whole entire
No,
thing?
I think we could just do this chart.
Yeah,
and
that's
it
what I
could
was
be a
saying.
Did you know?
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and just so that
And-
maybe people will read it.
We
And
could
also-
put From the Natural Resources
Yes,
Board, you
yes.
know.
Right.
Definitely.
And,
Make it short
and
and
if
sweet.
you see it
Yes.
on the beaches, please pick it up and
Yes.
dispose of it in, if it's plastic, if you can dispose of it in a recycling bin, we prefer that, but if not, at least get it into the
And
trash.
maybe Ingrid also add in that, add the beach bucket trees, because, you know, it's
Yes.
amazing that I'll be out there picking up trash with my beach bucket and people that are walking, they have no idea that the beach buckets are there for them to use.
Yeah, I think, again, the buckets were really meant for the residents of that particular condominium. I mean,
This is
I'm not gonna be
information.
on the beach
This is
telling
information.
somebody who's walking, you shouldn't be coming on the, but they're meant for that particular condo.
No, I
so-
just meant people
Yeah.
that are just walking on the beach that
Okay.
want to pick up trash.
Yeah,
Don't realize that those
What
buckets are
she's
there.
saying is like, if they come on an access that doesn't have a beech tree, they don't know that what a bucket tree is.
We could re-explain what it is, have that as an added piece of information if we're doing that.
Or
those are
just
typically
have-
on private property, so it's supposed to be for, I think you could make just a general statement, right, about picking up and, I mean, if you,
Cities pick it up.
yeah, if anyone, again, would like to volunteer from the board to write something up, if you feel specific about, a certain theme of the message, I mean, that's fine too, but,
And-
yeah, I think that was the intent of the beach. It's meant for the condo residents, not a free for all for anyone. Not that we have enormous amounts of people. It's a private beach, but I just don't want certain condo members having somebody walk up into their property and grab a bucket.
That if we parlay it in a strategic way,
Yeah.
because again, that's always been something we're working
Yeah.
on. And we've had one or two more individuals get on board with that.
Yeah.
You can still put it out there as, and we do have bucket trees at these specific associations who have worked with the town for their specific residents. But because then it's another plug that if you're interested, we can, contact so-and-so to look for it, but we encourage anybody to do the beach
Yeah.
walk. But it can be done in a strategic way, not saying they're there for I hear what you're saying. We don't want everybody coming up and taking, so in a way trespassing onto private easements or whatnot. But it's bringing forth, again, a reminder that they are there. There are some communities, this is a problem, and there are communities have done due diligence by working through their HOA boards, which you have to do in order to bring this tool and resource to your community. We encourage anybody who's interested to visit the website to learn more, or here's who you can contact if you would like to look into
Yeah.
having one on your property. It's another backdoor way in,
I think,
Just putting it out.
I think I
but
agree with you.
it's an
Yeah.
ongoing. I know you've been working on this
Yeah.
for years and you're always supportive of this working.
Yeah, I think we can word it just like that. Just letting people know we have several condos that are part of our beach bucket tree. Those condos have been very successful. If you are interested in having one, and I think that's the way to approach it. Yeah. And just kind of put it out there without
Yes.
telling people, yeah, just go get someone else's. bucket.
And again,
Then I just don't want condo residents calling me, someone took our beach
Exactly.
bucket. And then we have those
and
kinds of
again, that
issues. We
careful
don't-
line we
yeah.
walk of what we can and cannot promote as a private beach and what the town will or will not support. But again, I've put it out there and I have the opportunity again to put it out there and recommend to individuals. Our community at Highland Beach Club, especially during season, when I have so many members, we sponsor as a community Highland Beach Club events, monthly beach walks, or so we get together, we have a community breakfast and we walk the beach utilizing our bucket tree buckets. But I would encourage any community to work together as a group. We do it through our social club or other, whatever you have in place to embrace that as a community.
Mhm.
But again, it has to start within your each unique community.
One of the things that Marshall did up in Michigan, we had 18 lakes, private lakes, all private. A couple of marinas were on a couple of them. But the city, the town did have handouts so that they were encouraging people to do your own private rain garden along the edge. They encourage people to pick up, recycle and do things. So I think there is a role, even though this is a private beach, for the town to be able to educate people as well as the individuals within the association by producing materials that lay this stuff out in the, for no scarvola to picking up plastic and as part of our total, management.
Agreed. And again, multiple access points to doing that, starting with website, using the manager's minutes. We have been pushing through and doing that in that way, but there's so much information. So again, without being overwhelming, but this is something we've always been doing as well.
Yeah, if you don't mind. Thank you.
Myself and my teacher team would love to be involved with something like this, if possible. Because we are preaching plastic all the time on the beach, and my team is finding every one of them picks up trash. And the beauty of those trash bucket trees is that right next door to Delray Sands at Highlands Place, they have one. And I have seen guests at the hotel go over there, pick up a bucket. I've taken pictures of them, I've praised them, and they walk the beach. And those buckets get dropped off at other trees too. People come on the beach, maybe they're gonna go off somewhere else. So those buckets are being used up. When we had seaweed this high on the beach and we had over 200 hatchlings stuck, I was telling people, grab those trash buckets, put some sand and help me get these hatchlings. And so they were used for all these different purposes. They're great to have out there. We carry our own buckets, but I know Susie has borrowed them in the past for when she's gone out there. Some of us carry 2 buckets, but so, yeah, it just keep us in mind because, we have started a 501c3 and we would love to get out there and help you guys out and maybe set up a table with our merchandise if possible. Even with your event coming up, we would, and I have lots of handouts from the Sea Turtle Conservancy. Also, in the place of handouts, I don't know how many of you access Belvito, but Sea Turtle Conservancy had given me a beautiful aluminum sign about protecting sea turtles that my husband put in with stainless steel. We got the approval from Peggy and Ron Brown. And it's there. I can get more, but informational signs about the trash, all of that can be, that kind of stuff can be posted at different areas.
Thank you.
I think Bel Air Drive would be interested in one of those signs on our steps.
Okay, I don't think that's one of
To build off her comments of supporting us during the Mingle Jingle event, is that something we need to ask additional permission for?
I mean,
Yeah,
I'll
but-
talk to the town manager about it. As I said, you guys
yeah,
have
I know-
carte blanche for educational outreach, so
So can we, but just be sure that we include, again, I just want like to make sure T's are crossed, I's dotted. Do we have to specifically mention that it would be our table as we're representing the board and their table as
I'll
well?
talk to the town manager and I'll
Okay.
email you all what his thoughts are.
That sounds good.
See, it's an issue.
Thank
but
you.
I'll talk with
Because
him
this,
about
I
it.
would love to have that too and see that, again, they are separate, but we work in tangent and support and we're here as a voice for you as well. So
I just want to make a few comments to follow what we've been talking about. My name is Susan Hiles. I've been a resident of Highland Beach for about approximately 23 years, and I've been involved with the Sea Turtle program for 21 years. And I started picking up trash, right after I moved here, when I would go on the beach. And what really gave me a bigger interest was when I saw a hatchling trying to get the ocean in a little plastic baggie, that I had to get out so it could get there. And I picked up, one day I actually counted. So I actually counted like 128 caps I picked up in one day. And that's in my zone. Highland Beach has 5 zones. So if you split up 5 into, just short of 3 mile beach, it's not that much of a distance. But I have always had these problems with, this recycling and the bottles I pick up and empty plastic bottles. And that originally the caps you couldn't recycle, but they recycle them now. I used to collect them and give them to a gentleman that lived here because he took them to a veterans group. He said that they helped children in wheelchairs. But now I put them in the recycling bin. But I actually have a recycling bin that I can put them into. That's why I keep them aside. Because my zone is the beginning of Highland Beach from Boca Highlands, the south end. and then it ends at Del Lido. If I finish up the Boca Highlands, they have blue recycling bins on their property. One is just off the beach from the walkway up to go into the gated pool area. And I asked the manager one day, I said, I was hoping we could get them here in Highland Beach. I said, where did you get these recycling bins? And she said, well, I had a friend that worked at Waste Management. And that's, I spoke to them, but this is many years ago, and they got them. But she's tried to get a couple more since, and she hasn't been able to. I guess they just don't have them anymore. And they're not real heavy, but they're the big plastic ones with the hole in the middle. And, but during, windy season windy times and hurricane season, they'll have to bring them up because they will not stay there. I even know that our regular trash cans have blown away, even roped down in high seas and, hurricane times. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that, I was on the beaches and shores too here in Highland Beach years ago. And it was I know how difficult it was just to get a trash can on the beach. I know everything has to go through the HOAs or the private residents because that's what our beaches are, the different communities and the private residents. So, and as far as our turtle program, I see who picks up on the beach, and this gentleman, Mr. Bowen, was absolutely right. The south end is a little better than the north end, but what happens is that the turtle, almost all our turtle people pick up. But I've retired in the last few years, so now I can take my time. I can do my turtle monitoring and pick up. But some people have to go to work, so they have to get it out there and back. So they can't keep their sections as clean. But the south end is really, we have people there that are out there every day. I see a few here, and that we keep it really, really clean. Yes, Barbara's on the same zone that I'm on zone 1. But anyway, I've seen what's happened over, like 21 years. The beaches are cleaner because we do have more people that are looking after it. But the only people that look after it, because we have no beach cleaning, no program for beach cleaning, are the turtle people and these, residents that care about the beach and just go down there and do their little thing, But our beaches have got cleaner, but we still have everything coming in from the ocean and, all the caps and the plastics. But it's very good information from Mr. Bowen, and I hope we follow through with some of these things. All right, thank you very much.
Okay. All right. With that, I'm going to move on to item number 7, approval of minutes from the August 30th, 2023 meeting. Are there any corrections to the minutes of August 30th, 2023?
Make a motion to approve.
Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? We have one. Is there a second? I'll second. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yeah. All opposed say no. And then let's move on to item 8, was unfinished business, of which there is none at this time. So we're gonna go right into item 9, new business. And we've been referring to this throughout the meeting. Future dune restoration management related events is item A. Okay, with that, I asked you to table thoughts and ideas prior when we had open comments, but we've already talked about the mingle jingle, having our table there. What do we need to build on? I also wanted to, again, bring up the idea of possibly a special meeting, do additional work, but I think we should hold that off until we get to the calendar ideas. But what, my fellow members, where are we at with future dune restoration management related events, and what do we want to build on from what was discussed earlier?
I definitely would like to do a table. I volunteer to be at the table. I think that this 5 zones, very intriguing because it's a manageable way to look at our beach because our beach isn't that long. And I'm wondering if, there's a way to have a map of Highland Beach. We haven't seen our dune restoration, our feedback from the report that we're going to get. So we don't we don't know exactly how they're gonna look at the town, but the zone to have condos that are in zone, use the same terminology, zone 1, zone 2, zone 3, zone 4, zone 5, might be very helpful for people saying, oh, okay, I could manage this zone, because I could, whatever it is, if it's looking for Scarbola or whatever, it begins to get more manageable for people who live on the beach. So I guess my thought is, it would be nice for us to also have a map of the 5 zones. So we might be able to think about ways to incorporate that in a document that we might produce that talks about the needs of Highland Beach from a plant and a plastics and a dune perspective. I don't know. That's a thought.
So my thought goes to like zone health and like a zone health report. So maybe something our board could put together and get feedback from the turtle community and other condo association owners is, and our board as well is saying, okay, zone 1 has like good health, which means low trash, low invasive species, good participation from the community, whereas zone 4 may have 0 trees, horrible dunes, lots of invasive species, and we can publish like kind of maybe a heat map or some kind of scoring on a regular basis to our website or manager's minute saying,
Cool idea.
we're not really yelling at specific people, but we're saying, okay, if you live in this zone, like there's some things that need to change for you to be a better, healthy zone for Highland Beach.
That would take an analysis of each zone. So what would that look like? Who's that? Or can I even back up? Where are we at? We keep referring to the reports. So
Yeah.
where are we at with the official
Beach
report?
Update, yes.
Yeah.
Actually, I received an email from the engineer who's part of it. The consultant is Aptum, they're Coastal Ports and Marine, that's the title. So Mr. Douglas Mann, he's a lead coastal engineer on the project. So he basically let me know that the field inspection is complete, the beach profile survey is complete, and now they're just working on the analysis. So we should be getting a report soon. It first goes to the commission. This is an initiative from the commission.
Exactly.
And then the commission may want to then provide some direction to the board. We'll see. But yeah, maybe you want to work off that report and how they're going to, I don't know how they're going to break up the beach, but it would be nice. Maybe you could, tailgate off their zone. So we're all on the same page. I'm sure there's different maps out there, whether it's through the county or whatever organization that divvies up the beach differently. So maybe it would be a good thing to work off any maps that we get as a result of the study.
And
But-
apologies, I haven't identified ETA. You said it's an analysis, but.
Yeah,
is there
there was
ETA?
there's a time frame on their contract. I think it was 3 months from the initiation date. So we should be coming, I think November was the time
Okay.
of when the report's going to come in.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's a specific date that's in the agreement. I just don't have the agreement in front of me, but I believe November is the time frame for that.
Do we
report.
know if that's gonna have, dunes of specific homes?
It's site specific, so they're looking at each property. That was part of the scope of the project, that they look at each property.
Okay, so that will be great for us.
Exactly.
Then we can go right to that homeowner,
A lot of the legwork will be done, and then that was a
Yes,
whole,
exactly.
I think, not the full purpose of to do the update. I think the update was warranted and the commission wanted the update. The last one was done 10 years ago, but it will give property owners, the report will do a lot of legwork and say, look, this preliminary analysis has been done, and these are your issues. Let's hope, we'll see when it
will
comes out.
we be able to though, not us, but will a letter be able to be sent to that homeowner saying an analysis has been done of your property and your sand dune needs help?
Well, we'll see what the commission says. First, they have to look at the report, whether they want maybe some revisions to it, and then they'll determine whether they want to bring it to the Natural Resources Board. as far as implementing or, again, doing the educational outreach. Maybe they'll give you that opportunity and that responsibility to the board, and then you can go from there. How you're going to reach out to people to let them know that, hey, look, here's your property. Yeah.
Here's your
that-
property, or
Yeah,
again,
we'll see
from
what the
that
commission's direction is. Yeah.
direct targeting and by building upon the idea of zones and the work that you've done in separating out the beach into zone, there can be an overlay. If the
Right.
big plan is doing it by individual properties, those individual properties will fall into the zones, I'm sure, pretty cleanly. There might be some, but I would think that we're gonna have each individual that's at the micro level, we can do a bigger macro level for the zones and fall in, because then you can start looking at that quantitative, qualitative data, do an overlay of it as to what each zone, the health of each zone would be doing. So when I went back to who's gonna do that analysis, it's done. It would just take somebody
Right.
else looking at it and doing that approach, that overlay. So.
I think, I think that's a great thought. And if the board or your board is in agreement, I think that we could have Ingrid relate to the commission when it's presented that we are interested in looking at an overlay of the zones and to make it simple and market it along with some of the things that the sea turtle people, because they all go together. They're all not distinct things.
And again,
so-
when you can step up as a community versus you are the evil one. here versus-
Exactly.
Okay.
This
you know,
zone needs work.
when you see the bigger picture and you can come
Exactly.
together as a group within
Within-
this zone includes these HOAs,
Yes.
these homes, and you can make the
Yeah.
choice. If you choose, I mean, if they choose again, to come together and do that as a collaborative, but again, through education and sharing the data, but it's have all that data being presented will be phenomenal.
Yeah. Again, I don't know what the mapping will look like.
Exactly. So
Once,
that's what I'm
yeah.
thinking again. like,
if the
oh,
sea
that might be-
turtle.
In my mind, I'm
zones-
like, oh, that'll be
yeah.
easy. We can just do,
Yeah.
but we've got to see what the final report looks like.
But, oh, okay.
But
Okay.
you have criteria that establishes.
I'm sorry, Joan, you'll have to go to the mic. Thank you.
So yeah, we don't have maps per se. We just know our zones because we train the people where they stop and turn around. But we're broken into zones because we walk, as opposed to surrounding communities have ATVs and they just zip up and down the beach and get it over with. So we have people in each zone that walk, some people walk more than one zone. But yeah, I'll be happy to give you the breakdowns of how
That would be great.
we've broken it down.
That'd be great.
That's not a problem.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
again,
It's
if
just
nothing
property.
else, if we're doing continuous collaboration alongside your work, it helps create that common language.
Right.
When
So
you
we have
say
the-
A, it means A to me versus, oh, no, our map is this, but like, so having that common language would be.
Right, and we keep like little photo books and we identify the property by the address for disorientations and also by the name of the property. And every year we go to the property appraisers, we usually update it. So we do have pretty current
Okay.
information.
So with that in mind, thank you so much. We have a wealth of information coming to us that we can utilize. We don't have at this moment, but what are some things with knowledge and under information we have at this present time? Above and beyond the mingle jingle, what else is out there that we would like to do?
So something I tabled, my thought from earlier was if this board doesn't have the authority to change what our code enforcement officer does with his time, does the code enforcement board, and if we pitched that board to maybe utilize the code enforcement officer to look on the
For
beach more,
exotics.
as an example.
Well, I could talk to the town manager about that. Again,
I mean,
it's not typical that that a code enforcement officer will go on private property to look around and see if you have an exotic. It's just, even when I worked at municipalities that had a lot of code enforcement officers, that typically it wasn't something, that, looking around, and it's just not a very feasible way to implement changes or, again, I think maybe the educational route is maybe a more appropriate, but you can make your recommendation if that's what
Well,
the
just, I
board
mean,
feels.
if the town has something specific inside of its bylaws or code, and we're not doing anything to enforce it, why is it even there in the first place?
Well, we don't have anything specific to any species, right? I was looking while you all were discussing. There's a few references to exotics in our code. There's a reference to exotic removal, but that is specific. And if I remember, let me just pull it up real quick.
I think it's on the,
20.
it's not on the beach. It's a different plant, if I recall.
So there's a reference to,
I thought I remembered reading that homeowners who live on the beach are responsible for their dunes,
well, that's,
dune
that,
management, everything relating to the dune that's on their property.
right.
So, and it is not being enforced because there's nobody to go out there and enforce it.
Now, the regulation is very broad. I have it up right here. It's in chapter 20, which talks about, hold on, let me give you the title of it, because chapter 20 has a lot of different regulations, topics.
My question or comment was really just to say, like, is this something that we can bring up to, like, is that a good forum? Is the code of the board forum, or is it our forum with ourselves and the manager the best forum?
So you're
for
talking
something?
two different things. You're talking about dunes, and then you're talking, are you
I'm
more
talking
about
about-
specifically removing exotics?
I was
or-
specifically talking about invasive species.
Okay.
So removing plants because it is part of the code that you read earlier, that we could interpret it as there's an invasive species living on a property of the town of Highland Beach. So technically the town has enforcement to let the owner know via code violation that they need to remove that species. And if we don't have the power to ask, like, what is our power and or like what?
Yeah,
That's
it's,
my
it's a
question.
very broad regulation, and unfortunately, you see this a lot in codes.
Right.
You have a very general statement, which is eradicate or control certain exotic plant species which have become nuisances because of their tendency to damage public and private works, to have a negative effect upon public health, or to disrupt or destroy native ecosystems. Now, so this is in chapter 28, and this is the nuance of code, because I deal with code all the time. In chapter 28 is only applicable for new development, or if you're doing a renovation to your landscape, that's more than 20% of like the lot area. So that's this applies to. Yeah, yeah, this is what I'm saying. It's, I know it's easy to say,
So-
oh,
so then
yeah, it's a lot of, yeah.
How can we get that
yeah.
moved to existing developments? Like what would be the process?
Can
to
it be
add-
extrapolated to existing?
Right.
Can we make a motion to bring it to the commission that we want the ordinance changed to be more specific?
Then I think you can't just say we want the change to be more specific. I think you need to provide language, because that's what they're gonna ask.
Okay.
They're not gonna know, like, okay, more specific, and what does that mean? Now, let me just say, several of the newer board members may not be aware, but when, a few years back, we had a chair that did like to do a lot of recommendations, which is fine. And we came up with a template, a recommendation memorandum. So part of that template was an action, which is basically what are the key issues? Then there's a background, brief essential points that explain how this issue has evolved or become a concern. Then there's a fiscal impact component to the memorandum. What are the approximate financial costs? And then there's an attachment. It's attachments that may support the recommendation. So we can't just make it a recommendation, oh yeah, we want more, but we need to give them the details. So if you want to think about it, if somebody maybe, again, wants to volunteer some draft language, looking at your powers and duties, you can, let's see here, I know that there's something about ordinances. You can review existing town ordinances which affect the environment and advise the town commission regarding the need for modification or changes to such ordinance. But yeah,
Can you send us that, what you just referred to? Because again, I agree
The
that there should always be a
recommendation memorandum?
process. It's the what, the why
Yeah.
care, that whole piece, because it then backs and organizes your thoughts into a persuasive argument for a motion. But also I keep thinking back to the reports that we keep
Yeah.
thinking, like, we're getting a ton of information that we could also use
Yeah.
towards completing that recommendation as to the why. So it's coming to us. We don't have to be running around looking for, we're passionate, but above and beyond the passion, we're going to be receiving qualitative, quantitative data in the form of a report that we could drill down and look into and show this is what exists
yeah,
at this present time. It's our understanding it exists only in this criteria as it pertains to updates and new, but based on the information we receive from the report, what can we do to change or reword? And this is what we would like to see happen so that we can move forward in a positive way to hold people, individuals responsible for what this report has shown. So everything is coming, it's coming through like the giant funnel, and we just need to organize the information out the other end to make the presentation, but it's a perfect time to be doing this with the information coming. Ingrid, thoughts, or I always look to you as my guru over there, like.
Yeah, as I said, there's a lot of nuance in the code.
Mhm.
And then I know that you had mentioned the dune, Ms. Matthew, let me read you that.
I mean, some of the dunes are, I even have pictures on my phone. If that was my home, I would be very concerned because their pools are about to fall into the ocean.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why nobody is knocking on their door saying, hey, you know, you need to fix this.
Well, maybe as a result of that report, I'm sure
Yes.
that will be.
So I
yeah.
think everything
Exactly.
stems on this
Yeah.
report, and we
Exactly.
need to just wait for the report. and
Taking
then
the,
we have,
taking the passion out of it that we see when we
have
walk,
some
but
addition-
also,
yeah.
again, utilizing qualitative, quantitative
Yeah.
data from a professional engineering firm and whatever for us to go through there and make the connection
Yeah.
to existing code that maybe we'd like to look at it through a new lens and make this recommendation so that we can move forward. But it's all coming together. It's just organizing the information and presenting it in a way. Again, and we've always done that, and I feel we've been very good as a board about not pointing the finger, going up, knocking at the door, how
we're
dare
trying to
you?
educate.
Yeah.
Educate,
Mhm.
and even looking at it through that zone perspective versus you were the bad individual up and down the street, but
Yeah.
coming together as a collaborative team.
And I agree with the education 100%, but I think there has to come a point when we're done educating.
Exactly.
And if nothing is being done, there needs to be enforcement.
Agreed.
This is not new. I mean, this is not the only barrier island that has issues with dunes and trash. And so there have to be, and I do not know, haven't done research, but Ingrid, perhaps you have a resource that is the town's resource for other planners who could point us to a town that has already done this. And Josh's idea was excellent. And in West Bloomfield, not to tout West Bloomfield again, but Marshall had set up where the code enforcement people absolutely went to private property when they got complaints. Now, they didn't go around searching for it, but if the inspectors were on the property and they saw something, they got code enforcement involved. If a person walking by saw somebody dumping sand, the code enforcement was called. So there is a way to tie it in. I think Josh's point is excellent. Ingrid, your point is excellent. We need some basis in our codes. But again, this isn't rocket science. This is being done all over the United States. So we ought to be able to get something from somebody who's already invented this wheel to help us define what would be code enforceable along these lines, and then expand the role of code enforcement to deal with.
Well, I agree with you. I was just going to say that. I was thinking the same thing. Most of code enforcement is somebody calling in. It's eyes on the street and somebody complains. You don't have code enforcement officers looking through bushes to see, okay, is there a scarvola in there? No, I mean, that's just not going to happen. Right.
But
That authority.
Yeah.
Right. And
But
if he
Ingrid-
sees something, right, of course, and they'll call
If
it out.
I was to call code enforcement tomorrow and say, this house, whatever address it is, their dune is falling apart, they have invasive species, is he gonna go out there and investigate? Oh, okay, that's true.
Now,
So we
have-
need a
no,
new,
no,
we
no,
need new language
dunes-
from another community.
Dunes, the dune section is in chapter 20. Chapter 20 is a landscaping, and that is specific to new development and if you're doing a certain renovation. The dune reference is in chapter 20, says the natural vegetation cover on beach dunes shall be preserved in an undisturbed state of growth as a fragile ecosystem. Such beach dune vegetation, grass, sea grape, and tree development shall be altered, removed, or changed only in accordance with the requirements of this division. That's section 20-143. Doesn't necessarily talk about exotics. Again, I'd have to go through the whole section of the code. And then chapter 20, single-family homes are exempt from the regulations of chapter 20. Yes, single-family homes are exempt. So we have also in chapter 20, there's tree removal regulations. Single-family homes are exempt from tree removal regulations unless it's like a specimen tree, and our code calls out what specimen trees are, or if it's a historic tree. So there's a lot of nuance here.
Yeah.
But I would suggest you all, and yeah, I think there's probably a lot of municipalities that have, again, a lot of staff, but I would suggest to the board, again, if you want to get some volunteers, Chair, to maybe reach out to other communities to see, you know, what they have. That
As
might
it
be something you
pertains
all
to
want to,
Ordinances.
Yeah.
place. Okay.
yeah.
Okay,
You do
so-
not belong to a group. Do you belong to a group
We,
that we could
yeah.
call?
We have a group of planners, it's called iPark. They deal with a variety of issues. Again, any direction that the board is asking, I have to get authority from the town manager. I don't take direction from the board with all due respect.
Of
So
course.
if there's something that you'd want me to do, I'd have to discuss it with the town manager and he will determine if he wants me to put it on my workload or have me bring it back to the board, which is why I thought, let me just have you all see if you want to volunteer. I know you all have reached out to other communities with
In the
other
past with
initiatives
Beach
that you've
Shaking.
worked on.
So
So,
I agree with that. And again, it's been brought up that there are other communities probably doing this. We did that last year. Diane and I both
Yeah.
took on
Yeah.
contacting other communities within Palm Beach County. Beach raking. Beach raking and their policy and what laws they had in place. And we utilized the Coastal Star as our, what cities is distributed through the Coastal Star to determine who and what and where, what municipalities. And we each went out and then presented and even presented that back to the commission. So I would put that out there again. If that's something we want to look at. I mean, there's many facets to this work, but one is what else is out there. The other is getting the information back from the report, utilizing the template that was developed in order to make a recommendation to the commission, utilizing data from the report and what other communities are doing. So who would want to, before we make other comments, I would like to stop right now before before we make other comments, I would really like us to focus in on and get a little bit of laser focus on what is at hand right now, because there's a lot going on. And I'm watching the clock too for all of our purposes. Is there, and I'm gonna want to stop right here and just look at that piece, because information is gonna be what is needed in order to make that recommendation. You have a ton of it coming to us in the form of the report. Are there volunteers who want to take on this task of, like Diane and I did in the past, contacting other communities, municipalities to see or do research, whether it's contacting or
It
just
would be
downloading
research,
their
right?
ordinances.
The ordinances are all online, right?
Well, then again. then who
every
would like to
municipal
do
code
that
is online,
gesture?
Unicode.
Okay.
Most of them use Unicode.
Take a town or.
Okay. Then let's name them again.
Maybe as a suggestion, because I often compare the town of Highland Beach with other municipalities that are comparable to the town,
Exactly.
right? So we don't want to choose
you
like
can't
Fort
go into
Lauderdale. I
South
mean,
Beach,
it's a
Miami.
bit, yeah.
No, so that's
So,
why I thought
yeah.
using the Coastal Star last
Yeah.
year, all those from Gulfstream and.
Yeah,
different-
Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge,
They're very
Manalapan.
similar in
Yes.
dynamics and infrastructure
So
that I
it's
felt like versus, going to Fort Lauderdale.
Or even Delray is big,
Exactly.
but you know.
We did contact Boca and Delray, which were the
Yeah.
bigger
Yeah.
municipalities. But I think in this little area, that made a lot of sense to see what our neighbors were doing. It's a starting point.
Yeah.
It's a starting point. So if we're gonna divvy that up, do we want two individuals? Do we each want to take one? What would you like to see done?
I'll
So-
take one,
You'll take one.
anyone.
I
I just want
volunteer
one.
to do the legal research because it's actually more effective if you cover them all, because I kind of done this for myself a little bit. There's not that much information out. It's more efficient if
So are you
legally.
volunteering to do it all?
I can do Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge, Manalapan. I can do definitely those.
Which
I-
one? Wait, can you?
However, However, it's good if you call them, if you can guide up the work. But if you just look at, say, Gulfstream and I look at the other, it's hard to compare. It's better to see what they all have.
Trends. That's what I found when I did it. I had
But we
three,
can
you had
go
three, you see
through
the
it, okay,
trends.
and compare notes.
Okay.
But I think we should be looking at all.
Oh, we're definitely gonna do them all.
Yes.
Yes.
So not one by one. So I would say you and I can volunteer
Okay,
to cover all of them
okay, fine.
and then report in the next meeting.
Okay, so tell me which one you want me to do.
No, that's what I'm suggesting we both do all.
Oh,
And I tell you why you won't find much. And it's easier to compare. What do they say? What do they say? And then you can actually pick up the phone and call the town manager, whoever you would recommend, to say how they enforce it, how do they manage it.
okay.
Which municipalities do you want to When you say all, what is all?
I think the ones you mentioned, definitely
Okay.
Gulfstream, Ocean Ridge, Manala Palm, then obviously Highland Beach is one. The other one's Boca, Delray Beach and Boca are not working because they're just public beaches and
Right.
too big.
Yeah, Hillsborough Beach, maybe Jupiter Island. I think they have a lot of private beaches there,
Okay.
possibly.
So Hillsborough Beach and
Hillsborough.
Juniper,
Jupiter.
Jupiter.
Jupiter Island, I think is more
Okay.
comparable to
That's
Highland Beach.
much more expansive than we did with the beach rig.
Yeah.
Last year, we stuck within Palm Beach, so going into Broward might be interesting. When Hillsborough is Broward, right?
So is this something that you all want to present at the next meeting or is that the thoughts?
So, again, that is gonna, if, before we jump into meeting dates, because I'd want to stay here for a moment, because that's one piece, but are there any other events or things we want to talk about as it pertains to future related events? We have our jingle events, we're gonna be doing some independent research and utilizing the data when it comes in from the report. But is there anything else that comes to mind about an event? Like we did the outreach event here last year in this room, I believe it was like March 2nd.
Yeah,
And was well attended. Do we want to look at something like that again? The
Yeah.
jingle events were nice, meet and greets. But the actual educational outreach events was a much bigger approach. Is that something we wanted to revisit this year? Or something different?
Wouldn't it be good to take Elaine's presentation, which those are the slides, and maybe do it here and when people are back, because a lot of people haven't come in yet, in our
That's why we
building.
did it in March last year.
And so if we could do that, March or end of February, maybe,
I know we haven't gotten there yet, but do we have tentative 2024 dates for our meeting?
Yeah,
Is it in effect?
but last year, to make all that happen, we did add a special meeting. And that was something I
Right.
was gonna talk about too.
and that was
during our
before the
calendar
fire station construction.
Right.
Again, I've been advised that they don't want to do meetings, but
meeting.
I'll
Or
see.
maybe-
I'll
or
reach out.
Maybe it could be I don't know what our relationship
Maybe
is
at-
with next door with the church, if that's something they're typically open to, but.
Or don't we also didn't
Or she offered.
Elaine,
yeah, but
she
forget her
has
name.
offered to do
host.
it again.
That's true. She's offered to host it over there and we had approval for that. right?
Yeah, so long as she sponsors it, town manager was
This-
fine with that. But in the email I sent you all on September 7th, some of the, just to refresh your memory a little bit. I talked about on this particular agenda item, event topics, what type of speakers do you want? What type of educational material? So yeah, it's a lot.
It is
but,
a lot.
Yeah,
But again, do we want the event before we get into the nitty gritty?
Okay.
What do we
Mhm.
want an event? And with
Just to
um,
educate.
with the constraints here and space, again, do we take advantage of a community member and the space they offer? Do we put it out there that when is the construction? I mean, it's still in March and February, this is still,
I think
Yeah.
so. I
so
think
it's
it will
not
be.
seeming,
Yeah.
even though
it'll
if
be
it's an
fun.
evening event, and there's still.
I mean, I could talk to the town managers, just parking, it may be an issue. So I know they were holding off on larger events. But I'll be happy to bring it up to him and see what his thoughts are, but
Does everybody agree? I would like that, especially an evening event. I think there'd be less traffic here for the library and employee parking would be more readily, empty.
and you
But
want it
before,
to
I
be,
want to speak for everybody. Are we in agreement that we would like to hold an event? And then we can get down to the nitty gritty of
Yes.
types of speakers, bring in Elaine. Do we have to formally do this as a motion or can we just look at each other and nod that yes, we want to
Can-
move forward with this?
yeah, you could, if there's consensus, then
Okay, that's what I want to hear. That's where before we're like, yeah. let's do another event.
Well-
What are your thoughts? That's why we're sitting here.
The feedback from the prior meeting, the prior events is always spectacular, but I feel like we're never reaching the right people.
Okay, so what do you think? What would look different? What needs to happen, even if,
Well, can I, were you,
without even some constraint, like what would have to look different to make sure we are reaching the right
were you at
people?
Elaine's presentation the other day? Did you go?
No, at the,
Because it was very interesting to watch when it was presented and there were probably 10 with several people from each condo group. And when they saw first of all, it wasn't that expensive to get rid of the invasives, just on the dune piece. And they saw how cheap the plants were, $1.75 to $2.50 per plant. And she put 3 in each hole. I mean, all of a sudden people were like, well, I have 75 feet and I have 100 feet. And, you know, people began to think, oh, I could do this. We could do this. So it was very interesting to watch that. And then when everyone went outside and they looked at the plants, it became more tangible for them. So the benefit that I see from an event, especially like over there again, would be that we could explain physically what we're talking.
Do you know if she took like an attendance per se, or does Elaine have a representation of communities that participated? You said there were many many different.
We do
we-
it? I don't think that there was.
But there was no location.
There wasn't an official, but we
But
could
it
do
would-
that the next time and.
I'm just
you know,
curious, like when you say there were many more, like I'd love to know like how many other community
There
or
were-
associations.
Yeah, there were
participated.
people from, well, you know, in my zone, whatever it is. Villanova was there.
Okay.
There was the Clarendon there. There was
Okay.
one next to the Clarendon. There was 2 down from the Clarendon. Then she had several people who are near her. So in terms of an actual count,
Which, and again, it's not just the south end, that's you know,
Right.
like,
Right.
are we considered middle? That's all like around here.
Yeah.
But,
possibly.
so there was a diversity of
Mhm.
representation, and
And
I,
even if we reach one homeowner, that's progress.
So, and I don't know who gave her food, but she had cookies.
Food always
and,
helps.
you know,
The
that kind of,
Congo help.
okay.
and
So-
maybe we can-
Do you think, in your opinion, again, I apologize, I was not there, but and we had our event here, but do you think it made a difference that it was a local association presenting, not just somebody from outside? Like the individual who came last year was fantastic.
Yeah.
He was very knowledgeable, but does it make a difference when it's also like, here, look what
Right.
we did?
I think it makes a huge difference. I think
if they
she
can
came
see,
back.
yeah.
She came back to this meeting because she felt like, oops, I really could, you know, we presented it with this guy Lee, but she has a lot, and she did get out some of the practical, but she would do it from a more practical way if she had a second shot at it, which is much more doable for these residents.
And so the momentum, you feel that from your experience there, the momentum has started. It's got-
I think so.
the
Barbara, you
flywheel's
were
going.
there.
Yeah, I thought it was a great event. I was going to do that under updates, but I can quickly summarize. I think it was great. The major learning was it's the community aspect. It's really the help of everybody rather than hiring people for $40,000. That was my major learning, that really it's a community effort. And I think it was great because people could talk. It was much more casual. It was not as
Okay.
formal as in here.
Mhm.
And people talked, people had coffee and exchanged. I think it was a super successful event, and I think if you could ask her to maybe redo something like that in March. And we could all mingle with the people
So
whenever, yeah.
even whether it's not a formalized presentation's part of it, but if you think of it, in my mind, I think more like a workshop, right? It's hands-on, like you're given the information and then you can work in small groups and even start doing action plans for my community. What if I don't know, my mind starts getting. Why are you giggling? Yeah,
I think
but I'm like, I
great.
love that idea of it becoming more of like a workshop instead of a sit and get. But some presentation, some seeing, and then you get your little template of an action plan of what are my first steps for my community? What are my needs? Where can we go?
Yeah, because I think she would help, Elaine would help do a basic plan. Like she said, if I had to do it all over,
Yeah.
I would just do the COs, just get your row of COs out there.
Yeah, I heard her
And-
today and how inexpensive.
And so maybe we do that, there could be
Okay.
a practical aspect to it.
I know, I'm watching time right there.
Yeah.
So with that, when we move forward saying we would like to, from what I hear saying, yes, pursue another events, but make it more community, we're really going to ask, and I guess, does that have to kind of, am I allowed to reach out? Do you have to reach out? Or how can we reach out to Elaine and see if that would be something that the house would
Happy to ask.
and, but again, communication through Ingrid. who-
And have it here at the town? Is that what your thoughts are?
Would
if
it be at the town or I don't know.
Yeah.
if she can do it there again, because that's where it lives, where the
Okay.
project is living. But do we support that as a board, that we get more involved instead of it being just all on her? And thank you so much, board members who went and were there in support. We identified time and frame to be there and in tangent with.
I mean, last time when she did it, she basically told me she wants to do it pretty much, by herself. She had a clear plan. She did a fantastic presentation. She had all the plans there, bad and good. She had flyers there, so I
But-
don't think she needs
Well, but
our help, but
we're-
we can ask.
We're a conduit. We're a
Oh, she
conduit
does
for
how-
information
Right.
through,
Okay.
again, she's there as the star.
Yes.
And doing it, but we're the conduit to the commission and to publication and communication out to the whole thing. So it is, no, I don't want to take away her show, fire. You can be the sage on the stage, but we're the conduit to get the information out.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's working in collaboration.
Yeah, and if you want her to do another one, again, we did a lot of email blasts from the town.
Exactly.
So we're happy to do that, but yeah, if she's willing to sponsor it.
We,
could
we,
do another
yeah, we
round.
could do it in the day. Daylight is best because you really can see what's going on with
Yeah.
the
And
plan.
plus you may have more residents in now,
Yeah.
because this was done in October, so now you have more residents
Yeah.
coming November, December, January.
Yeah.
So,
And what would be a
Yeah.
target date?
I,
Are we
I
ready
think
to
we have
talk
to
about
ask
target?
her.
Yeah.
'cause she is doing some concrete restoration also
Oh, goodness.
in her
God bless-
building.
God bless
Um,
everybody else.
Ms. Villegas, if you would like to, since that you were the one who initially reached out to her.
Yeah, I'm
Chair, if
happy
that-
to reach
the
out.
chair's
to
okay with
see
that?
How she would think about it.
And
Yeah.
if you
thank
could
you.
just copy me, just so I'm in the loop,
Yep.
and then if she agrees, then I can just let the town manager know, so he's privy to what's,
Yes,
potentially gonna happen in the town.
yes.
Again, he was fine with it last time, I'm sure it wouldn't be an issue, we could again do those email blasts and.
Mhm.
Josh, how are you feeling about it from this perspective?
Yeah, I like it. I loved your workshop idea. I think if we could maybe she hosts the town board as like, a vendor there, and then maybe we can find, or maybe she puts together maybe a template, and then one of us sits down with a president of an association,
Mhm.
if we're allowed to. And like say, hey, okay, here's how you get started based
Exactly.
on what they did. Because I think a lot of people come away with, oh, this is great.
And then.
I love that.
anticipates.
But then, there's no follow-up. There's no, okay, what's first? What do I need to
Right.
do first?
Exactly.
And having like a plan of action, who to
And holding yourself
contact.
accountable, who's gonna hold me accountable, yeah,
Exactly.
but just like that, an action plan, workshop action plan and first steps. And dates to get them rolling.
Right.
But they would be wonderful.
But yeah, I would think,
Okay.
January,
Is your
February.
idea to really get us together with them first, or is it to invite the public? We'll have to figure out. I think.
I
she-
think we need to,
You
what is
know?
our target audience? Our target audience is owners of homes on the beach, or the people that are in charge of being able to make the dune restorations possible.
Then that
Or
would
the
be
condos.
boards,
Right, so
Mhm.
board members, board presidents, and single family home
yeah,
owners.
Yeah.
So those are the people that, and it maybe there was a great turnout because it didn't come from us, is what I'm thinking. So I think sometimes the town maybe pushes its agenda too much, and that may be deterrent for people to come and with open ears and listen to what we have to say. But this was a third party saying, hey, we did this on our own.
Mhm.
Come take a look at what we did, and that's probably why they had a good turnout.
yeah, it's community.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, again, I apologize, I'm not dishonoring what's happening here, but I'm watching the time and I too have to get somebody to an airport for a flight today. So, are we okay to move on to then dates or? Yes, so item B, Natural Resources Preservation Advisory 2024 calendar meeting dates.
Motion to approve suggested dates,
Which are.
February 7th, 2024,
Last page. Last
May
page.
1st, 2024, August 7th, and November 6th.
Oh,
And Madam Chair, were you thinking of adding another one? You were
well,
saying,
let's do one moment. Let's look at the existing regular meeting dates first. Okay, here they are, right? February seventh, May first, August, so the same date, or no, they are different than this previous year.
So
The present year that we're in.
quick question before we move to those dates. Most of us will not be here anymore after April 2024, right? Because we're only elected for 2 years.
you
So
can-
we're, right? So
That-
can we get re-elected or, because
I
we can.
think Mr. Harkin is. Yeah, okay.
You can, I thought you were allowed one term.
No, I've been on, oh, you're only allowed to?
That's update for me.
You can do 2 terms in a row. If you started, say, in an unexpired term, as most of you have, then that doesn't count as your first term. So it's 2 full year terms.
2 full year terms.
And if you're wondering when you started or when, shoot me an email and I'll let you know how much
Is-
time you
okay,
can
so-
continue.
That I believe then I've completed as of this August, 2 full year terms. 2 3-year terms. Okay, perfect. Okay, so these are the proposed dates.
So if I'm still on it, then August 7 will never work because August is our vacation and a lot of people are on vacation. So like last year, I would recommend we move the August date to an early September date when people are back, or at least end of August. So more people
Makes
who have
sense.
children and travel in the 1 month that they have off. I'm not here.
Yeah,
So
that very European mindset,
I know.
which I do now too, living part of my
Well,
year
we
in
work for
Barcelona.
European companies, so.
That is a very European, all of Europe
Lot.
shuts down in August, but we did do that this year. And again, I just would always like to remind, I was stateside, but I was in Atlanta, but getting on through Zoom is always a possibility. That's what I had to do in August as well.
I think it's better in person anyway.
But, okay. So,
So do you want to leave it or you want to move it to end of August? It would just move it like by 2-3.
I don't think we'll be able to come up with an exact date right now because the town would have to look at the calendar, so
yeah,
I would say let's
Table it?
table it. But with the idea of that August 7th date. needs
can
to
there be some,
So
I
like,
agree.
to be continued, like, may we look, a motion to have the town look for a specific better date than August 7th? Preferably in September.
End of August or the beginning of September?
Yes.
okay,
So
About to tell you.
okay.
motion to approve 3 dates except for August 7th, which we would ask that the town look for a date later in August or beginning of September.
Support. Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, all opposed. With that, I would also just like to put it out there when we're talking about dates. That last year we did have a special meeting in order to do some additional work. Is that something individuals here are interested in putting it out there? And Ingrid, you supported it or you helped us. I forgot how we were able to identify the dates or.
Yeah,
you
I
have
mean,
to
I
do-
think it was the clerk's office. They usually do the
They
dates.
do
but
that,
Yeah, they
but it-
coordinate all that.
Are we as
Yeah.
board members open to adding one additional, it was a work session. We had a
Yeah.
special meeting to do a very targeted work session since then the agenda still there to do.
But
work
do we
session.
have a targeted work session that we need to have a meeting for?
I would think the events and I would want it to be after November when that
As
the
long as
report
we have
comes
the
in.
report.
That's what
then
I,
I
that
would-
was my goal,
yes.
that to look at the report. Dig down into it and also to talk about the events that we're talking about holding.
If the commission gives it, based on
they
commission
give us the
direction.
report.
Yeah,
Okay.
And law enforcement research.
And the
findings.
ordinances,
Yeah.
so if there's a lot to talk about,
Yeah,
we're
we
probably
need time
talking
to
not
go
till
over
the
that report as
end of
well.
December, beginning of like maybe January,
Sounds good.
propose like a special meeting in January.
what do you think, Jeff? That's, okay.
Do our meetings have to be in this format or can we host them in like a room, a round table, like a workshop?
Yeah, it has to
Just a-
be recorded and,
Well, it could be
Yeah.
recorded, but
oh,
this
in a
is
different.
tough to. Okay, just curious.
Okay,
Thank you.
but it can be a work session, like that's what we did last year. Well, see, this is what's hard when we don't know when we want to have the events.
Well, we don't even have the report yet. The commission hasn't gotten the report
Mm-hmm.
and they have to first go over it and
Mhm.
then we're gonna have to go over it. So
And Elaine has to approve the dates.
Exactly,
Anyway,
so- But after the new year, but I wouldn't want to push it too late in January, because then you're rushing to get, I have a feeling the event might be in February.
Mm.
I'd like to see it earlier in January. Okay. All right,
So is
so
that something
then
you'll
we
email
did
her?
have,
You can
all right.
email her.
at the beginning of this meeting, we had wanted to add updates from an item we had approved to add updates as item C under this. Did any individuals have updates?
So I just have a very, very quick update given the time. So I've obviously been walking the beach, speaking to the sea turtle team, speaking to a lot of other presidents of Island Beach condos. And the people are very concerned about Milani Park, and I don't want to roll up a 30-year discussion, but all I can say is a lot of residents are very much concerned about the nature implications, especially for the Yamato Rock as an ecosystem. We all are very concerned with nature. We do not have the mandate by the commission to look into it, but are we from a sunshine law perspective okay to amongst each other only with a Milani focus work on Milani topics, or does the fact that we work on this commission, on this board together, prevent us from talking to each other simply the focus of Milani and taking action?
It's not an agenda item. And again, the commission has talked about Milani Park for several years. It's been an item on their agenda for several years. Again, the commission hasn't given direction to the board to discuss,
Oh,
you
maybe
know,
I maybe I miscommunicated.
Okay.
So I wasn't suggesting to add it because obviously
Okay.
we don't have the mandate and now it's way too
Right,
late because
right.
that meeting is in February. It's more, the question was more like whether we like privately can talk about it. Can I pick up the phone and speak to
I see.
you know, and speak to my friends, because I know we all have the same concern, but I'm not allowed to call them and talk about nature. But this is definitely not within the area.
It's not that we're not allowed to talk about the environment. We're not allowed to talk about specific items as it pertains to
Correct,
work that the board is
correct.
doing. But it's my understanding that if we're independent citizens, this is something we want to engage in, and since it's not board business, we're not violating sunshine laws. If we wanted to.
That's what I wanted to clarify and
You
hear
wanna
from the
talk on
experts.
that?
Yeah, it's not one of your agenda items, so if you want to talk about it, but also the commission has encouraged any residents, anyone to please come to the meetings. It's a standing agenda item. You can come up to the podium, you can speak on the record, voice your concerns. It's a great place to come and say what you have to say, and the town commission is more than willing to listen. So if you do have things that you want to say, please come. You're coming as a resident with your concerns.
I mean, the concerns, I'm sure the commission is very aware of the concerns. I would have questions that they would have to answer and they were not allowed to answer the questions. So there is really no point, because my question would be like, which nature conservation charities have you already contacted to give you a report on the ecosystem?
You can
Do
come
you
and
have data? You know, that would be my question.
you can come and ask those questions, but also just coming in and voicing your concerns, even if you think that the commission already has them, you have that public forum to come.
Yeah.
And put them on the record so they can be heard. But you're more than welcome to ask them to look into things during that time and voice your opinions.
So you basically would say, Ms. Dehout, that we all could come to the November 7 meeting at 1:30
Absolutely.
under public comments.
Yeah.
We could each make a
You can-
3 or 2 minutes public comments.
During the agenda item from Milani Park, you can absolutely come up and make public comments.
Oh, during the item,
It is a.
but I don't know when that's scheduled because it's 1:30 is start, right? So
It starts at 1:30. Yes,
Yeah.
town commission meetings start at 1:30. But yes, anyone in the public is welcome to come and speak on any agenda items.
Did the commission get the 2005 report that Jack Halpern asked for? Does anybody know? It was the report on whether there were Indian artifacts there.
I'm not
would-
aware. I
That
don't
would
know.
be something that would be a perfect question to bring to that meeting. And again, even your questions, Barb, of like, have you done this analysis or this perspective? Even getting an answer of no, it's being recorded and it's out there and it's giving you support if that's something you wanted to pursue. But again, in respect of time, and since that's nothing, I would really like us to move forward onto item 10 under announcements. So for announcements, November 7th, 2023, 1:30 PM is that town commission meeting that we've been referring to. November 9th, 2023, 9:30 AM, the plan board regular meeting. November 10th at 2023, the town hall will be closed in observance of Veterans Day. And November 14th of this year at 1 PM, the code enforcement board regular meeting will be taking place.
December 7th.
December 7th is the Mingle Jingle, which will be coming out, yeah, which was sent out. It just wasn't on here, but thank you for reminding us to inform others. Free lighting and Mingle Jingle, December 7th at church. Right. Okay. So with that, I'll move towards adjournment. The meeting is adjourned at 1:05 PM.